right here. See that resistance? I'm just going to hold it until she softens her face to it. Oi. So here I'm going to squeeze her. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. She wants to move her feet. It's kind of important that you don't block that too much. That's when they really start to jack up on you. They feel like they need to move their feet. It's kind of important you go with that. Good girl, Betty. Just make her circle a little bit bigger so she's still happy to move forward. I don't want her getting too sticky. Good girl, Betty. Good girl, Betty. Good girl. A little bit of work over here now. Oh, we're going to have a bit of an argument, are we, Betty? Good girl. I've had a few arguments with Betty on the ground and I know what she can be like. Good girl. I don't want her to be silly. I just want her to know that if she wants to jack up and be a bit of a donkey about things, we can make it a bit harder for her. Hey, 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 hey. Right here, we're going to do a little bit of, she's sort of picking where she wants to go, not where I want her to go. So every time she picks a direction, I'm just going to take in the opposite direction. Just to slow her feet and her mind down a little bit, because she's going a million miles an hour at the moment. I sort of follow a program and there's exercises I do and they're supposed to be done in a certain order. However, what I tend to find with some of them is that their minds just aren't ready, or they have other issues at hand. Good girl. And you end up skipping and having to go back to them later. So today we should have been doing follow the fence. However, Betty was having a few issues with that. I needed to slow her feet down a little. She's sort of racing off of me and getting a little carried away. Good girl, Betty. So we've had to go and slow her feet down by changing directions and picking the opposite direction to where they want to go. So she's sort of leaking back over towards Trady. So I'm going to pick up on her and go back the opposite direction. This is how we straighten them up. Good girl, Betty. Good girl. Right here, see how she's swishing her tail now? She wants to stop and say hello to Trady. I'm just making her work. Now this could go a few ways. She might really get pissed off at me. Good girl. I just sort of sat down in the saddle because she decides she's going to duck off on me or get pissy and pig rude, or I want to be able to make sure I go with her. And if I'm rising in the saddle, there's a good chance she'll duck out while I'm up out of the seat and dump me on the ground, which I do not want. Betty's dealing with this quite well at the moment. You see her leaning to the inside. She doesn't know how to hold that shoulder up just yet. Usually you'd do some rollbacks on the fence, but she's really not at that level yet. So I'm just moving her feet. Good girl. And then we'll trot right away from Trady, and I'm going to rest her away. I'll rest her over here. Ooh, good girl. Good. And what I want her to start thinking about is every time she wants to be over near her paddock buddy, that means hard work. Every time we're away from him, that means she gets to rest. Right, we'll walk back over there. Just cruise on over. She wants to go over to her buddy. Once we get over there, we're going to move her feet. All right. Come on. Good girl. Come on. Get stuck. Good girl. Right there, she gave me some beautiful softness to her neck and her rib cage. So that's all I look for. Good girl. And when she does that, right there, she's bracing the wrong way. I want her right here. Come on. There. Sometimes it's hard to get them to achieve this in a walk, and I find it's easier in a trot. There. Good girl. Good girl. So when she gives me a little bit of softness, I'm going to let her out. Good. So this side she's a little bit better, although she gets a little stuck on this side. Kind of wants to pivot her front end around her back end. There, beautiful. Good girl. Good girl. So there she's maintaining that arc quite nicely. Just going to bump on her nose a little. Good girl. Good girl. So there she's lifting up. She's giving there. Good girl. What I want her to do is lower her pole, so sort of drop down into that bosal. Good girl. So today we're going to spend a bit of time on this, just trying to, that's actually quite a nice circle. Good girl, nice work. Come on. There, come on. There, good girl. And as she lowers and drops into it, I let her out. Pick up the other side. So this is ride 4 for Betty. Good girl. Good. And we've done a little bit of circle work. I'll let her have a bit of a free trot. I'm just going to start picking up on her face a little. So you'll probably see her, there, good girl, lift up a little before she comes back to me. Just while she's trying to figure out where to put that head there, good girl. And that's just me squeezing with my legs and picking up on that bosal a little and putting a bit of contact on it. And when she lowers, releasing the contact. Good girl. So here, just me holding that pressure. There, good girl. And allowing her, I'm not taking up any more. When she doesn't soften to it, I don't pull harder. I just hold it consistent. And I keep squeezing her, drive her forward. And eventually, she figures out that if she drops that head a little and tucks her nose in, that pressure's gone. I add to that at the moment by releasing every time she's in the right spot. And the more confident she gets with this, then I will hold that for a couple of strides and then let her out. So it's just a little learning process where you build, it's like Lego blocks, and you build your foundation and you keep building on top of it one brick at a time. And this is the first little foundation to collection and softness. Good girl, Betty. Good. Come on. I'm just going to give her a tap today. I'd like to see her move into a canter a little bit quicker than what she's offered in the past. In the past, I've purely let her pop into it, and she's getting quite confident under saddle now, and I'd like to see her really, as soon as I ask her, start thinking about popping up into it. And you'll see she's quite quick, and that's just because she's unbalanced. The more balanced she gets, the much slower she'll get. Good girl. But she's not being silly, so I'm quite happy to just sort of sit up here and let her canter around. The more cantering you do, the better they get and the more balanced they become. So, good girl. We're just going to canter around. Keep going. We're just going to canter around. I just wanted to know there's no point racing off because we're not doing 2 laps and then stopping. Good girl. We are good girl. Yeah.